At this time, we will turn it over to questions for Coach. We'll start with Doug, and then we'll move our way around.
Hey, Coach. Doug Farnberg, the AP. What exactly happened in the end of that game in the last second with the handshake line with you and Dolan?
I said what I had to say, and nothing.
We'll come up to the front.
Sarah Strong addressed the jersey incident directly when reporters brought it up, describing it simply as an accident that occurred after a missed shot. She kept her response brief and steered attention toward the team environment, speaking warmly about what it means to compete alongside players who genuinely push and support one another. Strong noted that kind of culture changes what the sport feels like entirely. Geno Auriemma opened his portion of the session with characteristic restraint when pressed about the post-game exchange with Staley. Asked point-blank what was said, he offered only that he stated his piece and left it there.
It's Aya Abdi for the 9450. So there are notable UConn alums such as Diana Taurasi, Paige Beckers, Maya Moore, and Swin Cash and Caitlin Chen in the house tonight. How cool is it to see the alum spread the love for the program and the type of program you've been building for last few years as well?
That's one of the great things about, Coach.
Pressed further by a reporter who cited Staley's claim that the confrontation stemmed from a perceived slight during the pregame handshake, Auriemma explained the standard Final Four protocol, two head coaches meeting at half court before tip-off, announced over the public address system. He said he stood and waited at that spot for roughly 3 minutes. Beyond that, he declined to elaborate, saying anyone who has been through the NCAA tournament understands exactly what he was referring to. When a reporter asked whether he had any regrets about the exchange or about comments he directed towards Staley during the fourth quarter in front of broadcast personnel, Auriemma pushed back firmly. He said 41 years of coaching had never put him in a situation where one of his players needed to change jerseys mid-game because of contact from an opponent, with officials claiming they saw nothing.
Coaching at Connecticut, there's such a passion for the school, for the basketball program. They come back every year. They spend a tremendous amount of time with our players. They are our biggest supporters. They stay.
He made clear he had no intention of walking back anything said in that moment. On the question of physicality, Auriemma was measured. He acknowledged the game was physical on both ends but argued Connecticut matched that intensity defensively, pointing to South Carolina's scoring average in the tournament as evidence. Holding a team averaging 90 points to 62, he said, does not happen without physical defensive commitment. The failure, in his view, was on the offensive end, where the Huskies simply could not generate clean looks when it mattered.
They stay Connecticut Huskies for life, and it's one big part of the thread that goes through who they are when they're at school and who they are when they leave, and I'm really proud of that.
We're going to go next, Jonathan, then to Annie. Jonathan, if you can raise your hand, we'll get the microphone to you.
Jonathan Tannenwald from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Geno, it was 38-0 up.
Asked about the undefeated narrative that had built around the team through the regular season, Auriemma said he was never comfortable with it. He recalled a previous unbeaten run where Connecticut had already faced a large portion of the Sweet 16 field before the tournament even began. The undefeated record, in his view, means very little given how many elite programs remain standing come March. The 4 teams in that Final Four, he noted, were each capable of winning it all. None of them would have been a surprise champion. The Huskies simply did not execute on the offensive end when it counted, while South Carolina made every shot that needed to go in.
Philadelphia Inquirer. Geno, it was 38-0 up to now, and people were starting to talk about 40-0, which you guys had not done in a long time. And I just wonder, I know there's a lot of heat in the moment right now, but how difficult is it for any UConn team, no matter the Stewarts, Moores, whoever, to go undefeated in a season?
Yeah, I was never comfortable with that narrative. People talking like that going into the season. In the middle of the season.
On the tactical breakdown in the second half, Auriemma pointed to the start of the third quarter as the turning point. Several consecutive empty possessions, including turnovers, handed South Carolina easy scoring opportunities. Connecticut played too quickly at times, failing to convert in transition situations that should have been there. The game ended up being played at South Carolina's preferred pace, in the half court, and the Huskies were unable to shift it back. Auriemma addressed Sarah Strong with a layer of perspective reporters seemed to appreciate.
And trying to do that in today's day and age is it's always been difficult. Don't get me wrong. We were an undefeated team one year, and when we got to the regionals, I think we had played 12 of the teams that were in the Sweet 16. And it's really hard.
He acknowledged that her age gets overlooked given how consistently she performs. She did not shoot the ball the way the previous 2 seasons suggested she was capable of, but she still pulled down 12 rebounds and played every minute of the game. He expressed no concern about her motivation heading into next season, saying she would ensure the program returned to this stage. Regarding Connecticut's locker room following the loss, Auriemma spoke about what he told the team when they gathered. He said there was nothing that could be offered in that moment to ease the sting of a Final Four exit, and he did not try to manufacture one.
And it's really hard. It's always been hard, and that's why I don't like the narrative November, December, January, February. I don't care when it is, because there's too many good teams left to play. There's too many big moments left to play in. The 4 teams that are playing here today, I don't know that you would be surprised if any of them won. It wouldn't be like if any of these 4 teams won, you'd be like shocked.
What he did say was that programs built on sustained winning learn how to carry both outcomes with the same bearing. Winning with class and losing with the same composure, he argued, is something Connecticut has earned the right to model not because it comes easily, but because the volume of experience demands it. Asked what still motivates him at this stage of his career, the winningest coach in NCAA history, present at his 25th Final Four, he paused before answering. He said the 9-year gap between championships after 2016 taught him something important. Stepping away when losses pile up only guarantees no more opportunities to change the outcome. The program kept returning to this stage throughout that stretch, even without winning it.
So for us to be, viewed as they're going to go undefeated, nobody can beat them. This game's about playing the game you're supposed to play, and they played better than us offensively, and we held them to 62 points. And you hold a team to 62 points, you think you're going to win that game. And
that, he suggested, is the only way to eventually flip the result. Losing here is not a disaster. It is the cost of being in the conversation every year, and the motivation is simply to keep coming back and try to finish it differently. On the question of officiating standards, Auriemma raised what he described as a consistency concern. He said he noted Staley engaging officials with a level of intensity early in the second half, and that he simply wanted to confirm no double standard existed, that what one coach was permitted to say on the sideline was equally available to the other.
I was genuinely impressed by how she was playing. Sarah Strong, non-factor. AZ Fudd, oh my God, she was bad. She was really bad. Sarah Strong, at one stage, shot a running skyhook, missed to end the third quarter, and then Hulk ripped her own jersey off. And then Geno was like, one of my players ripped a jersey, it's on the referees, ripped their jersey. And it then was found out that she actually, she ripped her own jersey.
He was clear that he was not calling for Staley to be removed from the game. It was a question of equal treatment, and he found the apparent gap in that standard frustrating. Auriemma closed by reflecting on Strong's experience relative to where she will be in 2 years. The defensive pressure Raven Johnson brought to the matchup was intentional. Applying that kind of attention to an opponent's primary option is designed to introduce a level of irritation that bleeds into their decision-making. Strong had not faced that kind of sustained focus at this stage before.
He tried to say that the South Carolina players ripped Sarah Strong's jersey, and she ripped her own jersey. Sarah Williams has pulled the Hailey Van Lith. She is this year's Hailey Van Lith, a projected lottery pick or expansion pick that it might be gone. It might be a second rounder. Quinones, why did she only play the amount of minutes she played? Why did she not play more? Like, I understand she's on 4 fouls. Let her.
A senior version of her, he implied, would absorb it differently. The Huskies will be back, and she will be the primary reason why. South Carolina defeated UConn in the Final Four, and it was not particularly close in terms of competitive quality. The Gamecocks were the better team from start to finish, and the result was a deserved one.
Why did she not play more? Like, I understand she's on 4 fouls. Let her ride. Let her ride the fouls. Genuinely let her ride the fouls. I don't care. You're going to end the season. Keep her on the damn floor. Kaylee Heckle, man, she hit a huge shot. She hit a huge shot when they were down 10 to make it 7. Then Quinones hit a 3, and then Azzi Foot hit a 3 to make it 1. But like, Heckle missed an open layup and just ran down the court crying. Like, I understand it's Final Fours, there's emotions high, but like, no, I mean,
Rakia Jackson was outstanding. She came within a whisker of completing and won 360 at one point, and her overall performance was the kind that draws genuine admiration regardless of which side a viewer supports. Sarah Strong, by contrast, was a non-factor for most of the afternoon. Her lowest moment came near the end of the third quarter when she launched a running skyhook, missed, and visibly snapped, tearing her own jersey in frustration.
I mean, the USC fans are going to have a damn field day. They're going to have a field day with Kaylee Heckle. But on the South Carolina side, shout out Raven Johnson's defense, man. Like, this is one of those games where if you didn't watch the game, you are like 26 minutes, 2 points, 1 assist, 4 turnovers, 4 boards, 2 steals, 1 block. You look and you're like, nah, this was a disaster game. I actually thought Raven Johnson was good. I thought Tessa Johnson, she hit.
Auriemma initially attempted to place the blame on South Carolina defenders for the torn jersey, but Strong herself later clarified it was entirely self-inflicted. Sarah Williams has followed a trajectory this season that mirrors what happened with Hailey Van Lith in a prior year. Arriving with lottery pick projections, her draft stock has cratered to the point where a second-round selection is now a realistic outcome. Paige Bucher spent much of the contest managing foul trouble, and the coaching staff's reluctance to keep her on the floor during crunch stretches, even with 4 fouls, was a debatable call that may have cost UConn some momentum windows.
Last game, I actually thought Raven Johnson was good. I thought Tessa Johnson, she hit big buckets. She made 2 big free throws when they got it back to 1. She made 2 big free throws, and she hit this like pull-up shot. I thought Tania Latson did a good job. In fairness, it was a bad scoring game all around. Like, you can't, like, South Carolina shot 6 3-pointers. They shot 6 3-pointers. 6. UConn shot 6 free throws. Like, I don't think the referees.
Kaylee Heckle had her moments, including a massive 3-pointer that cut a 10-point deficit down to 7 and briefly shifted the energy. But she also missed an open layup down the stretch and sprinted back down the court visibly emotional. The high-pressure nature of a Final Four setting explains the reaction, but the sequence will remain a talking point. Azzi Fudd struggled badly.
I don't think the referees had any factor in this game. I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't think there was any real factor in the referees. I don't think they decided the game. I think South Carolina are better on the day. Azzi Fudd has 0 ability to create her own shot. And, like, I mean negative. At one stage, she drove to the basket and just fucked the ball at the backboard. I mean, there are levels to it. Like, Azzi Fudd, I don't know how much better she is than Carly Samuelson. I don't.
At one point, she drove baseline and essentially threw the ball off the backboard with no coherent finishing plan. Her inability to manufacture offense independently remains a significant limitation. The comparison between Fudd and Gia Kupke is worth examining honestly. The one genuine edge Fudd holds is her trigger speed.
How much better she is than Carly Samuelson. I don't know how much better she is than Christy Wallace. Like, I'm not saying she's not better, because she is. The question is, I don't know how much better. Like, whatever about Fever Christy Wallace, the year she played with Caitlin, she was terrible. But like, up to that point, Christy Wallace had been a plus defender and shot 40% from 3. Like, Azzi's a quick trigger The only thing AZ does better than Gianna Neepkins on the floor is she has a quick trigger.
She can enter unconscious stretches where her quick release produces 3 or 4 consecutive makes that feel completely unpredictable. That specific quality is dynamic and difficult to guard. But in terms of all-around floor game, Kupka arguably covers more ground. Fudd's best professional projection appears to be a high-quality role player, a reliable 6th woman, or an elite 5th starter on a contending roster.
Gianna Neepkins on the floor is she has a quick trigger. I can see her sliding to 3. And that should be the best place for her, to be honest, in the draft. Like, if you're AZ, you want to slide to 3. You don't want to go 4 to Washington. You definitely don't want to go 5. And I don't think he's going to slide to 5. But, like, I'm watching UCLA, and I just saw a nice pull-up from Gianna Neepkins. Like, the quick trigger is the only difference between Neepkins and Fudd. I think all-around game, Neepkins is better. But that quick trigger from AZ Fudd,
sliding to the 3 position in the draft makes the most sense for her skill profile. Going at pick 2 or 3 seems aggressive, given the night she had. Raven Johnson's defensive line, 26 minutes, 2 points, 4 turnovers, 2 steals, 1 block looks ugly in a box score. But watching the game, Johnson was a significant disruptive force on UConn's guards all afternoon.